Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on another episode of Drive-thru Therapy, The Real Sessions. And if you notice, I changed a little bit of the title. I added a little bit more, but I think it just demonstrates the evolution of this podcast in a way that honors it. And I thought The Real Sessions is really what it's about. I think now I'm accepting the fact that Tala can't be anything else but Tala. And so... If you listen to me for just a bit, you know that I want to make psychology applicable in your life, and I want to put it in the palm of your hand so you can use it all day long. The Real Sessions is just a good explanation or a good representation of what's happening in this podcast. Thanks to you guys, I've been on since 2019 with this podcast. We've been through a pandemic together. We've been through a lot, but we've made it. We've made it today to another month and another day. I'm glad that you guys are here with me. Now I'm excited to no end in introducing this topic tonight, and it's about moodiness. Moodiness. It's basically a change in emotional state or a shift in an emotional state. It's done, of course, internally first, but the problem with moodiness isn't the changes in the mood. That's not necessarily the biggest issue that I'm talking about today. And I'm not talking necessarily only in a clinical sense, like I'm not attributing it to like a mood disorder or bipolar disorder. That's not going to help you out anyways, even if I label it for you, because you still have to work on it. And it may not necessarily be attributed to an actual disorder per se. What we really need to care about is the fact that I do demonstrate this coping mechanism that may not be that great, and I want to make sure that I address it in a healthy way. I stay away from making it too clinical, because then it just adds helplessness to it. And I'm like, no, we don't need to add helplessness by labeling it. We know that we can work on it. That's the point. So moodiness as a whole is not like a problem. Okay, having moods or mood fluctuations or mood shifts, like I said, it's not a problem. It is how it's expressed outwardly. Now that is where it gets a little slimy. It gets slimy when now it's used for an expression outwardly. I don't want us to go to extremes, because some people will tell me, well, Tala, I shouldn't be showing my moods visibly at all. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. That's not what I'm saying. That's too extreme. What we're talking about is the way it's being used. If you find yourself kind of expressing your mood kind of even in a silent way, right? You're not saying anything, but you're more like slamming doors or slamming cabinets and stomping upstairs, or giving silent treatments, ignoring someone because you're having a rough day at work. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that's an emotionally dysregulated expression here. It's no longer about this is how I express my mood. I need us to know this is a negative way in expressing that, and it's definitely not used wisely because it impacts people around us, and it doesn't help the person who's moody regulate their own emotions. What they're doing at that point, and we don't want to admit it, is that they're making other people feel their emotions. They're projecting it outwardly, and they're forcing other people to feel their emotions. Now, again, this doesn't sound kind and generous. This sounds a bit selfish, right? That if I'm moody and I'm expressing it by doing all those little behaviors I told you, then that's kind of for my own needs, not really to help anybody else. I don't even care about how other people are affected by it. It's more like me, my emotions. And some of us grew up in those kind of households, like a parent coming back from work, for example, and they were very moody. They were detached, distant, irritable as fuck. Like we experienced that. And it wasn't an easy thing to experience. Now, if I'm a child in that household, I have to accommodate this parent who's irritable. I look to their emotions, and I will attempt to some way think that I can manage their emotions by acting right and laying low and not being loud and not, I don't know, going to ask them for things because they're going to get irritable. So I learned to manage their emotions like I'm responsible for them in a way. Like, I'm to blame if they are more irritable. Not they are responsible for their feelings. The message I get as a kid here is that I am responsible for another person's feelings. So you could see why a lot of people, as they age and they start having relationships, they will also demonstrate this in their household, when they are in their attachments, when they are friends with other people. They might express it with their moodiness, and they think this is okay. This is how you express feelings because it was done to me. So that's normal. That's what you do. Now, one of the most important thought patterns or justifications for doing so, right, that I found people get stuck on and have a difficulty in changing that, as long as they have this particular excuse or justification, what they usually say is that, okay, Tala, I'm moody, but do you want me to be fake and hide my feelings? And the answer is no, I don't want you to hide your feelings. But at the same time, I don't know what you want to call a person who is emotionally invested in their own thought process and their own emotions, that they project it onto other people even though they don't deserve it. Other people don't deserve, when you're hurt and when you're having a hard time, to be hurt as well with you. So it's not the kindest thing. It just means that I'm emotionally dysregulated. I don't know how to self-soothe, and I don't know how to regulate my own emotions. Now, this is a real thing, and I think that we need to make sure that we explain this even further, because I want people to know that you're not hiding your emotions. What you are, in fact, doing is taking responsibility for them. It doesn't mean that you, for example, on the day that you're disappointed, you're feeling sad or angry, it doesn't mean that you should feel happy and da-da-da and like great and, that's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to still feel sad, disappointed, maybe angry, and honor your emotions. Honor them for yourself, I went through a rough day today. It was disappointing. I got disappointing news. Yeah, it was rough. But also acknowledge that there are other people that have nothing to do with what you're upset about, and that I need to protect them from that part of me. Yeah, there you go. Like, I can be disappointed. I can talk about it. But I'm not going to treat people differently because I went through a bad day, right? That right there is selfish. Let's call it what the hell it is. Like, we don't need to hide it, people. Just call it what it is. Because true generosity means that I will, even when I'm feeling terrible today, I had a rough day, I will still sit there and play with my kid, or I'll still be with my partner and sit with them, listen to them. We might even talk about this issue or not, but I will not change by withdrawing from them, isolating, or being moody, or, acting wild because I had a rough day, just leave me alone, and making it appear like it's their fault and they need to walk on eggshells for you. And we don't need to do that. You don't want that. Essentially, your heart and it doesn't want that. It doesn't want people to be afraid of you and walk around eggshells when it comes to you. We want people to be there and connected with us, and we engage in intimate conversations, become vulnerable, not only seek to be moody. Now, there are a couple of reasons that people are moody. Some are intentional, and some are subconscious. They're not intentional, but we still do them, again, as a way that maybe we've learned to do. We've seen it before, and we just kind of think it's normal, and that's what we do as we age. So the first one is intentional. And so the intentional or conscious part of the moodiness is to do one of a few things. First one is to get some sympathy, right? So I'm moody, so I can get people to kind of rescue me. Hey, are you doing okay? What can I do? Let me get you back emotionally, basically, because you're withdrawn. Let me get you back emotionally. So to get sympathy and that kind of attention is one of the reasons why we get moody. That's number one. Now, don't reject it too quickly, friends. I always say that. If you just like, oh, that's not me, stop saying that and say, maybe it is. I'll consider it. It makes you healthier and more flexible. The more flexible we are cognitively, the better mental health we have. So be flexible cognitively to possibly accept that it could be that I'm trying to get a little sympathy, little of that. Another way to be moody is to get others to comply with what you're wanting to do. And I've seen this a lot. the mom or the dad will get into the house and their emotion will shift and everybody has to walk on eggshells. And let's say, mom comes back from work and she starts being moody because the house is dirty. Everybody's going to get up there and they're going to try to clean real fast, put things away, and it's just getting them to comply. You get what I'm saying? So one of the reasons why moodiness can be used as manipulation is to make people comply with what the person who's moody wanting. The third thing why we're becoming moody and expressing it outwardly. Now, I'm not just saying moody on the inside. That's not what I want to make sure I clarify that. It's moodiness that's expressed outwardly, and it is changing the climate of the household or whoever is experiencing it. That's what I mean by moodiness, okay? That kind of moodiness that isn't healthy. The third way is under the umbrella of control. So people that may be moody outwardly are really trying to get control of a situation. So for example, let's say, and I often see this, okay? Let's say there's a couple, they usually have this competitive nature. When we get back from work, they start to compete who's going to be more paid attention to. And so the way that we attempt to get paid attention to is by being moody, right? Now, that kind of attention that they're wanting isn't necessarily a gentle kind attention, but it's an attention like I'm gonna be in a bad mood more than you, so this way I can control how much let's say attention control I have in the day in the household, so this way you don't get moodier than me. Like, I hope you understand, like it looks like it's a competitive type of moodiness. We're both in a bad mood. Let's see who's in a worse mood to control the household a little bit more and to meet their needs. Ultimately, all of these tactics of moodiness are just to meet our emotional needs. And it's an unhealthy way to do so because it causes fear in the people around us because they're afraid of our feelings. They're afraid of our moods. Now, if you have kids and you're a moody person, a moody parent, what's going to end up happening is that they're either going to hide their feelings from you and walk on eggshells. And so because they're going to prioritize your feelings. So you're making or developing people that are people pleasers. Yeah, people pleasers. That's what we're developing because they have to hide their feelings and prioritize yours. Another way to also another contribution to parenting, and when there's a parent that's moody, is that the child eventually goes to the other extreme where they become also reactive, like mom or dad. They become reactive. They start to behave on feelings, and they think that if I feel something, I have to show it outwardly or else I'll be fake. That's the constant justification that people have. And usually that is a learned process behavior, I think, from childhood or even from exposure in life. We learn that. We accept this as a reality that if I act on my mood every time like it's real, then that means I'm being real and not fake. And let's redefine that. So this way we're not sabotaging our life, our relationships, our workplace, our, community with our moodiness. A mood can change, but a mood needs to be self-soothed. A mood needs to be tended to, but in a gentle, kind way. We don't impose it on another person. It is unkind. And it leaves us in a helpless state when it comes to emotional regulation. I don't regulate myself. Now that will develop into some sort of disorder. When I'm not able to regulate my own moods and I am helpless to them, or I perceive I'm helpless to them, and I don't practice doing it, I will eventually, become a disorder, basically. So, okay, I hope you're with me so far, and that you're getting the idea of how much moodiness contributes to our daily interactions. Now, how do we self-regulate? How do we help ourselves? That's the most important thing here. And I want to spend time talking about that. Now, when we go to therapy, one of the things I help you do is learn how to use emotional language. You'd be surprised how many people have difficulty just saying, I feel blank, but not just the same things that they acknowledge. Like, I feel angry. It's easy to acknowledge that feel happy. Easy to acknowledge that. But people don't know the other ranges of feelings that they have or that they produce. They're not aware of them. So we have to learn how to identify this within us first, right? Identify that I feel disappointment, or I feel embarrassed, or I feel a sense of pride. We're not identifying these varied emotions, and then what we end up doing is just sticking to the ones we do identify, we do acknowledge, but then we're not really emotionally soothing because we're not identifying the other emotions. So the first thing that we need to do is get to know ourselves a lot deeper here, a lot deeper. We need to study on emotional language. I feel blank. One of my favorite activities I have some clients do is to pull up a list of emotions from like Google and go through them, do 5 a day. Say, okay, what do I have memories in this emotion? What does this emotion look like and feel like in me? And it could be an emotion like embarrassment. What's a memory that I have along with embarrassment, getting to know it? What does it feel like in me when it's happening? What am I more than likely going to do if I'm embarrassed because I'm not aware of it and I'm not emotionally regulating it, right? For example, a healthy way to deal with embarrassment is to acknowledge I'm feeling embarrassed and maybe understand the facts a little bit better, understand that my pride is taking over, and maybe accept the harsh truths in that situation, whatever that I'm embarrassed about. An unhealthy way to deal with embarrassment is to get loud, start to gaslight another person, start to blame them instead of taking accountability, whatever that is, right? Like that's just one example. So that's an unhealthy way, which sabotages me regulating my own emotion as I am blaming it on someone else. And again, the moody individual in this way is usually thinking that the source of their mood is external and that they need to externally show it. But we need to make sure that we know that it's all internal and that these shifts of emotional states are happening and I'm responsible for them. And to identify what they are. That's number one. So identifying your emotional states, getting to get re-educated on what they are. How do they feel inside of me? And that's number one. Number two thing that I need us to do in order for us to help regulate our emotions is to take a break and sit still. Now I have to put this particular step here, taking a break and sitting still. The reason why is because most people are used to reacting on it. So by taking a break when you're feeling whatever it is that you're feeling, like you're checking in with yourself and you say, okay, I'm feeling embarrassed, for example, or angry, I'm going to take a break because I need to have a little break between my emotion and my reaction. I want to have a little pause. That could be just sitting in your room a little bit for a few minutes, but not in an unkind way, right? I'm going to go to my room. I need a break. No, we need to kind of say it in a way like, hey, you guys, I'm just going to go real quick and fold some clothes in the bedroom. Love you. And I'll be there. Okay. And I'll come back and talk to you guys in a little bit or whatever. Like it's kind of showing them that we're still there. And I'm just going to go take a break to handle my emotions gently and kindly. So this way I don't take them out on anybody else. So taking a break is number two. It had to be all on its separate step because we don't take breaks. And so we just react. We're just reactive. This sets you up for success. Take a break. Take a 5-minute break, 20-minute break. You time it and come back to it. Come back to whatever it is that you need to address when it comes to your emotional regulation. Now, once you take a break, number 3 thing that you need to do to emotionally regulate is to affirm yourself during that time of quietness when you're taking a break. Affirm yourself in some way. Affirm your feelings is the best way to say that. And there's a couple of affirmations that I'm going to read to you right now that are pretty good. And I would be repeating those. So I'd have them written out, maybe on my phone, and I can easily access them. And one could be like, it's okay to feel what I feel. My emotions are signals. They're not threats. I can observe my mood without letting it define me. This feeling is temporary. I felt many moods and moved through all of them. Another way that you can also speak to yourself could be in a self-compassionate affirmation. And it could sound like, I can be gentle with the parts of me that I feel intense. I don't need to fix myself right now. I just need to care for myself. Maybe a way to kind of give yourself more accountability in this case, which is some of my favorite responses or affirmations, would be, I am in charge of how I respond, even when I can't control how I feel. I'm in charge of how I respond. Yeah. My moods don't have to steer my day. They don't have to be a bad day. They can be a bad moment. It can be a bad hour, but they don't have to be all day long. It doesn't have to be. I can express my feelings clearly and kindly. I choose awareness over reaction. That's one of my favorites. I choose awareness over reaction. I'm aware of my mood. I'm compassionate towards it. I know it's there. I am changing my self-talk and affirming a compassionate perspective towards myself. It doesn't have to be that I have to react on this mood. I can have it without reacting on it. I'm capable of doing that. Okay. Making sure that you understand that the number 3 thing is affirmations is so important, because if you don't go in there and put out that fire with those affirmations and contemplate them and sit there until you feel affirmed, then unfortunately you're going to count on somebody else regulating your mood, not you, which goes to the selfishness. That's truly a selfish act, not selfless in here. So making sure that you stay away from that part, really taking accountability for it so we don't hurt anybody else anymore with our moods, as they are ours and we need to regulate them. I'm going to go ahead and control them myself, and that will keep me, knowing that that's a selfish response sometimes keeps me from hurting another person that way. So even though I know it's a harsh thing to tell you guys that it's selfish when we're moody and we're pushing our mood on everybody else, but I need you to do that. I need a little bit of healthy guilt in there so we can get you to stop this behavior from happening. Just to think about it twice before you're about to do it. You might get the quick gratification in a moment, but later on it feels the sense of shame that I couldn't regulate my own mood and I just pushed it on to everybody, knowing that that's not their fault. Yeah, that part. So once you practice the affirmation, now the next thing to do, and maybe that's the final step for now, is to practice self-care. Now, I know that we're taught in some cultures that self-care is selfish, but I assure you, without self-care, we would be selfish, because we're going to expect other people to handle our emotions instead of us handling our own emotions. So true self-care is actually the most generous thing we could do for our family, to take care of ourselves. Without that, we become a freaking martyr and we push it on to everybody else. Let's not do that. Let's stop that from happening, and let's get honest and real about it and understand that I am capable of self-care. So that could look like a few things. Self-care could look like, okay, I'm going to go take a quick warm shower. I might sit quietly in my room and take a few deep breaths, maybe light up a candle and just meditate. It could be that I'm sitting with my kids and instead of doing our homework, maybe that today I might skip it and we might just do a little board game. Maybe instead of doing laundry and cleaning up after I get home, I'm tired. I'm a full-time mom or dad, and maybe I just want to order a pizza and just hang out with my family, and no shame involved. Not going to call myself lazy or a bad parent. Look, I can't do it all, and I don't need to be perfect. I just need to accept that not everything needs to be a priority, and that's okay. So things like that we do to help ourselves right after we affirm, as we affirm all day, that we are allowed to have the emotion, and we're really meeting our emotional needs. We don't need a husband or wife to take care of us. We don't need our kids to take care of us emotionally and handle us. We could do the things and make decisions that help us feel better in the moment. That's true self-care. And once we do that, now we're emotionally regulating ourselves. There it is. I put it in 4 steps for you, and I hope that you guys really use this. So the first step is to identify the feeling, because you can't know what it is if you're just like, I'm just reacting to a feeling all day. Number 2 is to sit and take a break. We need that pause. We need to practice a pause instead of just immediately reacting to a feeling. We just need to identify first. I am, for example, tired. I'm exhausted today. Sit down and really, really take a break. And in that break, we're affirming, I am allowed to have that feeling. I'm allowed to be exhausted. I honor it. I'm emotionally available to it. I understand it. I'm compassionate towards it. You have to practice that compassion towards it in those affirmations, friends. Without that, it just won't, you won't take care of yourself, which leads to step 4 of practicing to perform an action of self-care in some way. Something that can help you become more present, connected with family, not isolating from them to do self-care, but connecting with family to do self-care. So whether you're playing with your child, you're watching your little favorite Netflix series, reducing the amount of chores that you come home and do and you think you have to do, and it's a lot of pressure and you're yelling and screaming because kids aren't cleaning the house on time. You're going to take care of yourself finally so nobody else can take care of you emotionally. That's not their business anymore. Kids shouldn't be taking care of ourselves emotionally. Our partners shouldn't be taking care of our emotional self. They can't handle all that and handle their own emotional self. We got to take care of our emotional self and self-regulate. And at that point, we become selfless, generous, kind, gentle with others. And we could still allow space for our own feelings, our own disappointments and anger. We are there for them. We are present with them. But now we learn to express them in a very healthy way, not a self-sabotaging way. I hope this helps you guys tonight, makes you feel empowered to change something for a lifetime, not just for a little bit, not temporary, but for a lifetime of coping. And not only that, generationally, it'll impact your children if you have children, and they will be able to regulate their own emotions because they see mom and dad regulating their emotions. It would make sense, wouldn't it? Like if I see it in front of me, I could do it. If my parent says you need to be able to regulate your emotions, but they don't do it themselves, guess what message I'm getting? Right? Not what they're saying, but what they're doing. So generationally, you're about to change not only your child, but your children's children. So that's a wonderful thing when it comes to change, is that we know we're making a contribution for generations to come after we're done. All right. Thank you again so much for joining me tonight. I'm sending you love and light. It is said that emotional regulation is not about controlling your feelings, but about controlling your response to them. This has been an episode of Drive-thru.